Hi, I'm Delisa, and I'm going to show you how to plant your own microgreens. They're really easy to grow, so please don't be afraid even if you've never planted anything before. And it's great to have them because from the time you plant them till the time you can eat them is only about 10 days. So this is just a really fun thing to do. So in order to do it, you need to have some supplies. So the first thing you need is something to plant in. And these are 10 by 20 inch planting containers that you can buy at any place where they sell garden supplies. So I have two kinds of trays here. One of them has holes in it on purpose. The other one does not have holes in it. And I'm going to nest the one with the holes inside of the other one. And that's so that when I water, the excess water can run through the holes and collect in the bottom tray. So you also need some kind of soil, and you're going to fill up so this is the same thing as this. This is two trays nested, and I've filled this up. I'm using Pro Mix, which is a planting mixture, but you don't need that. You can use any kind of potting mix that you want. You can only use it one time, and it doesn't need to have all kinds of wonderful fertilizer in it or compost, because you can only use it one time, and then all of this is going to be filled up with roots, and so you can't reuse it. Okay, so you've got your container, you need some kind of soil, and then of course you need some seeds. Now you can grow lots of different things, but I grow three different things. One of them is it's a salad mix, and I'm going to show you. These are little tiny seeds, and it's a mixture of different things like kale, cabbage, collards, Swiss chard, arugula, might be some others in there. And it's a whole big mix, and I buy them from a place called True Leaf Market, and you can buy it in these little 1 pound bags. And this one's called Spicy Salad Mix. This one's called Basic Salad Mix. I've tried them both and I can't tell the difference. So whatever you get would be just fine. And 1 pound doesn't seem like much, but it lasts for a really long time because it only takes about 1 tablespoon to plant this whole tray. And that makes quite a lot of greens. So besides the salad mix, I plant two other kinds of seeds. These are peas. And now we don't eat them like a pea, we eat them like little greens. And so when they're about 3 inches tall, we eat them. And these are sunflower seeds. And those are going to grow into little plants that are about 3 inches tall when we eat them. Now you'll notice that those are a lot bigger than the little salad green mix. And so I'm going to use a little bit different process for planting those. So I will talk about that later. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually plant the salad mix in here. But I have a better way than just pouring these on here. I have this shaker. It's like a salt shaker kind of a thing, except with bigger holes. And so I'm just going to sprinkle these quite closely all up and down here. So you can come in close and take a look. I'm going to try to do it as evenly as I can, and I'm hoping that you can see how close together the seeds are. They're really close. And I'll show you later when they start growing how they're just like a carpet of green, like a little lawn of green. You can see this is not really hard work, nor does it take a really long time. And if you miss a spot, it's no big deal. So I know because I've measured it out before, that's about 1 tablespoon of seeds. Now I'm going to add a few radish seeds just because I have a lot of them, and I bought these years ago for making radish sprouts, but they add a nice little hot, spicy. I just kind of sprinkle them around randomly. I don't want that to be the dominant one. I just have a few of them in here. Okay, so now I'm going to, I don't have to cover these seeds. That's an important thing because they're just going to sprout in a couple of days. So I have a spatula where I just press down just a little bit to flatten it. Now, of course, you could use your hands, but this does a better job. I did it with my hands in the beginning, but then I'd have the seeds sticking to my hands. And all I'm doing is just kind of pressing it down so that it will be, the seeds will be making good contact with the soil. I didn't mention that the soil needs to be moist when you put it in. You don't want it to be all dry and powdery. And then my job is going to be, for the next couple of days, to make sure that it stays moist. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to move these seeds out of the way because I don't want to get them wet. I'm going to use a little spray bottle and spray the top of these seeds because I want them to be nice and moist. And of course, the soil was a little bit moist before I started, so that's enough. Now, these don't need to be in the light yet until they actually sprout and they're up maybe, I don't know, quarter or half an inch. So it's actually helpful for them to stay in the dark for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. And the way I do that is I just use one of these trays and I put it upside down over this. And you can use the one with the holes in it or either one. It's dark enough. And then I'm just going to set that any place I want out of my way. And I just peek at it and say nice things. Hi there. Every day. They like it. And so once they start to sprout, they're going to look just, well, I'll show you in a couple of days. But this also helps to keep the humidity in here, which is helpful because you don't want them to dry out. If they do dry out, then you need to spray them again. That's all there is to it. I'll show you the next stage later. So now what I want to show you is how do you plant, what do you need to do to plant these bigger seeds? And the first thing you need to do is soak them in water for about 10 or 12 hours, something like that. So I've already soaked these. They've been soaked, they soaked last night. And this is actually a little sprouting container, which you don't need. You can just use a jar or something. But I'm going to show you how different they look after they're soaked. So look at the difference. These have, not only are they darker, but they're a lot larger. And the soaking overnight is going to help them to sprout a lot faster. I'm going to show you the difference now between the peas that are soaked and the ones that are not soaked. See, those got like twice as big at least. After they soak overnight, then I just rinse them about twice a day and, you know, pour water in them and then pour it out so they're not sitting in water. And in a couple of days, you'll notice that they're growing little sprouts on them. And that's when I plant them. And so I'll show you that step later. Hello, I'm back. It's the next day and I'm going to plant those bigger seeds, the peas and the sunflowers. So night before last, they soaked overnight and then I drained the water off and then they spent all day yesterday and so far until now, today, sprouting. And I'm going to show you, you can come up closer, I'm going to show you these adorable little sprouts. Aren't they beautiful? And yesterday when I showed them to you, they had swelled up a lot. They'd soaked up a lot of water, but they hadn't started to grow yet. So the reason I'm sprouting them like this is because if I just planted the hard, dry seeds, it would take them a long time to sprout. But when they're already sprouted and I put them in the, I plant them, then it doesn't take very long for them to come up. So I'm going to show you the sunflower seeds now. And they don't have such long sprouts, but all those little white parts that you can see, those are the sprouts that are just starting to come out. And so they don't need to be any longer than that in order to really grow quickly. So if you remember, the ones that I did yesterday, the little tiny seeds, I did not cover them with soil. I sprinkled them on the top and pressed them in, and that's all I did. Now these are such big seeds that if I did that, I don't know what they do. They'd probably just dry up. So I am going to actually sprinkle them around and then cover them with soil, just very lightly. So I'm going to make half of a container of peas and half of sunflower seeds because they get so big. And that you're going to see that just like with the little tiny seeds, I'm planting them really close together, like almost touching. This was 1/3 of a cup of peas. I didn't get this very even. I've got a hump in my, I don't think they care as long as they're in the soil. I'm going to try to make this pretty, kind of an even imaginary line here. It might not be a complete half of it, but close enough. And I'm going to keep you in the loop so you can watch them grow. But let's sprinkle these others on the other half now. So black on top of dark brown is kind of hard for you to see probably, but it's a big pile of them. And they're going to be, again, super thick. Now this actually was a full cup of sunflower seeds. That was only 1/3 of a cup. And the little seeds that I did yesterday, 1 tablespoon. So, you know, you have to buy bigger amounts of these if you want to grow these. These plants get much bigger and sturdier, and so that's why I don't make a full tray of each of them. And by the way, you don't need to make a whole tray of things. If you want to try it just with a small container to start with, you don't have to go to the store and buy one of these, but you're going to love them so much that you're going to want to do it this way. Okay, so now I'm going to cover these with some more of my soil. And again, this happens to be Pro Mix, but I'm just going to cover them barely. And as you can imagine, it won't take them long to come up through there since they already have little sprouts on them. And I can't wait to show you what they look like. They look like this uprising, like, I don't know, like some weird freaky thing piling up out of the ground because they're so densely planted. If you were planting these in the garden, you know, they'd be many inches apart, not just stuck together, just almost touching. I've got a little bit more here. It's easier to see if I have them covered at this end, because at this end it's hard to see the darkness. Okay, that looks about right. I'm gonna pat this down again like I did yesterday, gently. I don't want to hurt any of the little sprouts. So the difference between microgreens and sprouts is that with sprouts, some people use those terms interchangeably, but sprouts, you don't let them grow green leaves on them. You just let them grow, just the root system starts to grow, and then you eat the whole root and all. And of course they're small. But with these, we're going to eat the green leafy part, and we're not going to eat the roots because the roots are going to make a mat in here. So if you remember from yesterday, they like the dark, So I'm going to cover them up like this for a day or two, and I'll keep peeking at them. And they do love attention too. I know you're happy that you started growing, and it's going to get more and more fun. Okay, so I will show you when everybody starts sprouting. So you see the uprising, that's what I call these guys. This is the sunflowers and the peas, and these are the ones that I planted 2 days ago. Okay, so this is what the little tiny microgreens look like on day 3. So here we have the peas and the sunflower seeds that I planted 4 days ago. Growing fast. So here are our small microgreens. They've been in here for 5 days so far. I'm going to stick my finger in so you can see how tall they are. So, that tall. All right, so it's been 2 more days now, and so I planted this tray 6 days ago, and these are the peas and the sunflowers, and you can see they're really getting up here. And you see all the little black heads that they have on them, which is the shells of the seeds. And so some of them are going to fall off on their own, and some of them I'm going to end up having to take off by hand. But I'm going to let them grow a couple more days before we do anything with them. But you see they're growing fast. And so now come over to this tray, and the little greens, I planted these 7 days ago, and it's kind of hard to see how thick that is, so I'll stick my finger in again, and so up to about there in the middle, and they're not as tall at the edges, but so 7 days. I could actually harvest some of these by just snipping and cutting them off with scissors, but I'm going to let them grow for a couple of more days. All right, so here it is. These are the sunflowers, and it's been 8 days since I planted those. You see their little tops are ready to pop off. I wish they'd all pop off because I have to pull some of them off. And the peas, after 8 days, I'm going to stick my hand in so you can see how deep it is. It goes all the way up to probably about 5 inches. So that's 8 days. And then these are the little microgreens, the salad greens, and they've been planted for 9 days. I'll stick my finger in there. So, still pretty far. They are ready to harvest.